I still have. Yeah. Okay, everyone, we'll get going. I know you've enjoyed the lunch, and some of you have had 2 desserts, so that's good too. First, some announcement shirts. Everybody. Has everybody got their nice blue shirts? No, there's still one. That is, there's still one coming for you. We don't have it yet. And if there's what, yeah. Question on shirts, yeah, John. Hey, Cheryl, you can give it to me. So Cheryl paid it with my credit card. Okay. Okay. Yep. I'll do. That's where it goes to. Yep. We didn't want to run it through the public account. It was just simpler. Okay. So, yeah, it's Cheryl's money. Well, you have to be deal with Cheryl with that. I don't. That's good. A blind dinner date. Jim's not here. Anybody on the committee with any new news on the blind dinner date? I know we have the date in January. We're working on sponsorship. We're working on nominations for award winners. Yep. So I think that's sponsorships is what we're looking for. So if you want to help sponsor, Katie Moby is going to be the speaker. She's visually impaired, and she's a great story what she's accomplished in her life. And ABVI Crafting Vision. Tim, you want to just give just a quick summary of that event?
Sure. Our Crafting Vision was October the 4th. Very successful. We raised $150,000 at one evening. So it was a great evening for us. We're at the Warner Building. We're looking at Rapids. We'll get back there next year. So if you get a chance to join us this year,
great, thank you. And water filters. Water filters is a project
yes, that's
coming up
Thursday.
That's this Thursday. 2 times. Remember the times in the morning?
2 to 4 and 6.
Okay, 2 to 4 and 6 days.
There's a Sign Up Genius link that was in the NUDA, but I don't think it's been emailed out yet. So
okay, a Sign Up Genius in the newsletter. We can get that re-mailed out. So if you want to sign up, Sign Up Genius is pretty nice. Do that if you haven't been on it yet. We'll get that link out to you. I'll call the boss when I leave. We'll have it before you get home tonight. And holiday shopping, Don.
Yes, holiday shopping with visually impaired and economically disadvantaged kids. December 2nd, we really need volunteers. We had a lot sign up last week, but if you weren't here last week, let me know. Here's the sign sheet. Pass it around. Not having the chapter from the Grand Valley kids help a lot, and they're no longer able to help. So we really need volunteers. So please sign up and have your spouse sign up if they might like to join too. So, thank you.
Thank you, Don. Water filters. This weekend, the Jamaican Vision team is leaving. I think in the room it's Rob and I. So we'll think about you next week. Yeah, there's 19 of us going, and the goal is we're seeing 4 days of exams. We're seeing 1,000 kids a day, so that should be a lot of fun. And Brent.
Last weekend on Saturday, the Kellogg's indoors and we 30 minutes. It was successful. that. Going fine. Yeah, they're gonna be building beds again. Great.
Thank you, Brent. Thanks for being there. And it's amazing the number of children that don't have beds to sleep in Grand Rapids. Great project to work on. Got a day. It's a lot of fun. It just takes a few hours when that comes up again. I'm gonna ask, our tail twister for the day, Rob Lally.
Hate to be here today, but sunshine, so I'm gonna waive any penalties for no offense.
Good.
How about, yes? Do you have any guests other than our guest speaker? We have a couple new members that came last week, so glad to see everybody, okay?
They have their red tags on now, so when you see somebody with the red name tag, they get to wear that for a year. So go up and introduce yourself, and you know that are new. A new member.
How about Happy Buck? See, people are reaching. What Scott was reaching, I guess he's not happy. Oh, here's Bob Snyder. What do you got, Bob?
Oh, for a great trip out east to fulfill my desire for lobster.
You want some cheese, don't you? What do you got?
Well, everything I wrote, Jeff. Got our 41st wedding anniversary.
It's 41 years of being happily married for my wife, maybe 32.
Yeah.
And blue.
Right.
So we made a quick trip up north, and I guess that the in-state fee. It's under $10.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a buck, but I'm doing better.
There's some information around it.
Okay.
Just go blue.
Okay.
That's it.
Hi, everybody. We went on a trip with the in-laws and the outlaws. All of us went to Ireland.
Oh. Wow.
I'm an outlaw.
How long was Did you cry? Or did you have a shy bed? Oh, yeah.
Yes, my granddaughter of over school record. I was trying to see her do it again.
Is that it?
Happy luck from Cheryl. She wishes she could be here, but we'll be here for the next meeting.
That's it.
Then we have the raffle.
You get these? Oh, raffle.
We're gonna do the raffle. Mix them up. They're gonna put I'm gonna put the white one in there. It's in there. Have somebody pick. Yeah. Sorry,
This is the $5 winner. Last four is 4068.
Oh, that's right.
let's do it.
That's me.
I don't know where you're gonna get your $5.
We'll find it somewhere.
Oh, no. They got it for prize. They didn't give me this part of it. All right, here we go. This is the chance to win the,
Win $1 million.
last four numbers are 4025.
Not even close.
Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Oh,
Rob
Rob.
hold his own.
Is it big or not? Don't get it back if I win. How's that? If it's small. Oh.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for stepping in. Reminder, if you need a parking ticket, tickets are up here. Okay, get a parking ticket. And any other announcements you need to make? Remember, it's good to see you. Joe. It's good to see you. Glad you're here. Boyd, good to see you. Bob, glad you're back. So, pretty much everybody else we've seen, even Pat. It's good to have you back too. So, program today, Whitewater project, Grand Rapids Whitewater. How many people thought the Whitewater project was done? Okay, well, we're happy to hear that it's not. Today we have Matt Chapman, who's a project manager for Grand Rapids Whitewater. And along with Matt is Mike Stahl, the project manager for the city of Grand Rapids. So they're like, let's just say Curly and Mo, but they're the tandem. So welcome on up here and please tell us all about the project and when I can expect to bring my kayak down. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Gary, for the nice introduction. So I am Mike Stahl. I work for the city of Grand Rapids, and Matt with Grand Rapids Whitewater. Grand Rapids Whitewater is our nonprofit partner that's we have been working in collaboration. I've been on this project for 6 years now. How long have you been working on the project?
I started in 2015.
So about 8 years.
Whatever, man. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but in total, our organizations have been working on this since what, 2009? So there has been a lot of work that's been going into this. And so I really I want to share some history on that because I think that the history is important. And so I want to go back to really early history here. So what this is showing is the bedrock. And so, are there any geologists in the room? Because I just need to know if I can say geology jokes, right? So, because I mean, geology is a really hard subject, right? All right. There's more coming, but I have to go quick, so I'll skip through that. But anyways, you see where this blue line is the Grand River that starts in Jackson, flows through Lansing, and then comes out obviously through Grand Rapids and then out into Lake Michigan in Grand Haven. And so what these other colors on the map are is just different types of bedrock. And specifically, you can see that there's this line of red in here, and that's a very specific, very unique type of bedrock. And you can see where these two lines cross, the blue line and the red line, that's Grand Rapids. And so there's a very rare type of bedrock that's up at the surface where the river's flowing over. And that makes this a really unique geological formation. Unfortunately, we don't really have pictures from when the rapids were here. We have a few different sayings. Here's one from Charles Belknap. If you grew up in Grand Rapids, you probably learned all about Charles Belknap. And a few pictures to kind of put together what we feel like he's saying. But we also have maps. So this is an undated map of the village of Kent. And so before the Grand Rapids was the city of Grand Rapids, they were the village of Kent. And so Grand Rapids has been a city for over 150 years. So I think Gary said he drew this when he was just out of school, right? All right. So anyway, but yeah, another geology thing, you're right. So anyway, so I mean, largely you can see there's just squiggle lines in here. It says the rapids of Grand Rapids. You can see the canals in here. So there's these islands on the south side. That is where like the Amway and the JW are today. There used to be islands there. In fact, another little side piece of history is that we used to have our jail on the island. So before there was Alcatraz, we had Kent County Jail, right? So, so yeah, this riverscape has really changed a lot over the years. And so one of the things that we've asked ourselves is, well, why? Why has this changed? Why would we get rid of the rapids? Why would we have these canals and get rid of them? Well, the 1904 flood was a huge event. So March 28, 1904, the river crested at 19.5 feet, which was 2 feet higher than we had ever seen before. Right, Gary? Right. All right. So he remembers that. So sorry. I couldn't make geology jokes. So, all right. So when that flood hit, there was 50 factories that were just that had got water in them that were flooded. There were 200 to 300 homes. The damages overall was only like $1.4 million, but in 1904, that's obviously it's a lot of money. And so, as a city, we had said, "Okay, what are we going to do to make sure that this never happens?" And as a good engineer would say, hire a good engineer, right? And that's what we did. So we hired one of the best hydraulic engineers that was around. His name was Lyman Cooley. He was a professor at Northwestern. He also worked on really cool projects like the St. Lawrence Seaway, Panama Canal. So he worked on these, really cool projects. And so we hired him and he came to Grand Rapids. You can see the report that he has, we still have today. And what he said is you need to remove the rocks out of the bottom of the river and you need to build tall flood walls. And that's exactly what we did. But we do have pictures of this. So we dried out the river. We used the canals to put the water around this stretch of river. And then these are what you see are boards. They took wheelbarrows without rubber tires and they were just manhandling these things right out of the river. This is not obviously an easy task. So, this was a huge effort going into what we did. Yeah, I think that's Gillette Bridge.
You're looking Gillette.
Yep, so that bridge is still there today. This was probably 1931, I think, is when this was. So yeah, this is Gillette Bridge looking north. So, and then what they did is they took a lot of these rocks out, they put them on the sides, they put them, they filled between those islands and the river banks, right? And they used some of it to build the foundations of the Amway. There's a couple of churches in town where that, or at least one church in town that's built with some of this rock. So they used it up. And then so also here's an example of an early flood wall system that we built. This was protecting the street lighting plant at the time, but you can see it's just a 20-foot tall concrete wall. And so we basically made this a huge concrete channel. And so I'm going to turn it over to Matt. He's going to talk about some other man-made alterations that we've made.
And over here is front of the lamp looks like. So obviously another thing that many of you know, if you've ever been downtown, you see the dams that we have. There's 5 of them down there. The 6th Street Dam is the tallest one. Then you've got 4 smaller, what we call beautification dams. So this was again, as the Mike's photo showed, we really have done a lot of manipulation to this river. It's truly not natural. When you look at the flood walls that we have, we took all the rock and boulder out, but then we also tried to build the dams, drown out those rapids so that we blow logs down to the furniture factory. Obviously, we're not doing that anymore. We don't have any active furniture factories along the river. So you start to really look at what's a better use for this river and how can we start to try to return that more to a natural state. So removing the dams was kind of that first step to come out. These low-head dams are very dangerous. In fact, low-head dams around the country, they have the nickname of, they're called drowning machines. They have such a dangerous recirculation that if a boater or canoe or kayaker goes in there, you really get sucked in and it's almost impossible to get out. So we really don't want to encourage more people into the river right now because it's just simply not safe with those dams there. The one thing about the 6th Street Dam is it is the first major dam on the Grand River. So it protects from invasive sea lamprey, which of course is a big issue for the recreational commercial fishery in the Great Lakes. So part of this process, eventually when we talk about the removal of the 6th Street Dam, it's really not just a U.S. problem, it's an international problem. So we're actually working with some folks from the Canadian Fish and Wildlife Service as well to make sure that when the 6th Street Dam comes out, that a viable sea lamprey barrier is built and replaced so that more lamprey don't get into the Grand River and spawn, which would then increase the numbers in the Great Lakes. So again, just some more photos of some manipulation of the river. So this photo, I think, was late 1929-ish. You can see the 6th Street Dam has been built, and now you can see kind of these smaller concrete low-head dams. This is the first one just above Bridge Street. So again, not a natural river by any means. You can see that it's really a very flat, very uniform bottom with just really no structure. That's the type of stuff that fish and mussels and aquatic organisms really need to survive. Again, here's just some more photos looking at the dam. So this is actually Bridge Street. And that's again, that post office dam. You can kind of see that that's about a 3.5, 4 foot dam. And then again with rock and boulder removed from there. So why was Grand Rapids grand? And this is kind of gets into that unique geology. So we typically refer to our project area as about a 2-mile stretch from Ann Street to Fulton Street. And if you look at this graph, Ann Street is on the north, represented by this dotted line with the river flowing this way. Fulton Street is on the south. In that 2 miles, the river actually changes in elevation about 18 feet. So that's really water falling over that limestone shelf that Mike mentioned. From Fulton Street, 40 miles downstream to Lake Michigan, and Grand Haven, where the river empties out, it only falls about 4 feet. So there is a really unique geology that made Grand Rapids here. So it's not just a matter of backing a whole bunch of dump trucks up and dumping rocks in and then seeing the water going around. And we really do have this natural opportunity. So a lot of people say, yeah, is the project dead? And I want to take a minute to say, no, it's not dead, but also to kind of acknowledge the original vision of what our organization started to do and why it's so important and why we need to keep working on this river. Chip Richards and Chris Muller were our founders that founded Grand Rapids Whitewater out of some city planning processes. And really early on, it was very much focused on how do we make this river more accessible? How do we create recreational opportunities that can kind of be an economic driver for the city? They were avid kayakers, whitewater kayakers, and thought, well, let's build a whitewater kayak course in here. So they started with that recreation focus. But again, the more we studied this river over the last 15, 20 years, the more we realized about things like endangered mussels, about invasive species, about the fish, the salmon, the steelhead. The more that we realized it was an opportunity to truly do this kind of holistic restoration where you could also incorporate that economic development in the forms of some specifically designed and engineered whitewater recreation feature. So we had spent 15 plus years going through a design process of submitted an application to the state and the federal agencies. We're not going to get into the myriad of permits and agencies that we have to deal with, but let's just say it's a lot. We ran into some complications with the permitting process, and then in March of last year, we withdrew the permit application, and since that time, have been going through a redesign process. So I want to mention just that initial vision because it was really the catalyst for a significant conversation change in the community about how we look at the Grand River. So many of our buildings had their backs to the river for years. Nobody really talked about it. It flows right through downtown. There's really not a lot going on. And I think this project has helped spur on a ton of conversation. Mike's going to get into some other things, the amphitheater, parks, trails, all sorts of things that kind of came out of this. So what are we doing now? There's a ton of words here, and you don't have to read them all. I'll just kind of say, basically what we've done is really went back to the drawing board and looked at what was part of our original vision, what was the most important thing. And that really is trying to make this river safer and more accessible for our community, and then trying to restore as much of that river as we could. So bring back rock and boulder, try to restore a sense of those rapids. Try to improve the fish habitat, the mussel habitat, make sure that invasive sea lamprey are going through. So as we went back through this drawing board, we really realized that all of these things are key elements of the project that we need to do. We've spent 15 years already. We need to continue. The biggest change is that we actually had removed the specific whitewater recreational features from the design. That was a tough thing for our organization to do. I know the city had different thoughts about kind of what we should and shouldn't do, but our original vision was really focused on that whitewater recreation. But we realize there's still a lot of opportunities. And again, we can still have recreation, we can still have more folks in the river. So we are to a point now where as we're working through a redesign process, we're getting closer, we're feeling better about that. And we still think it's definitely a project that's worth doing for the community and more importantly for the river. So we're plugging along through that permit process. Unfortunately, we can't give you a timeline of when anything's going to happen. Other than I can safely say that Mike and I are getting a tremendous amount of pressure to make it happen as soon as possible. So we're still working on that. A number of benefits, and again, I'm not going to read through everything, but when we think about this river right through the heart of our city, there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity for people to use it. For so long, the river actually divided the east and west communities, and the river really, when you look around the country at other cities that have done projects around their waterfronts, the waterfronts are now becoming that gathering place. So you're seeing more improvement in parks, more improvement in trails, more improvement in programming that's bringing people to the downtown sector, bringing people together. And we really think that this project will have those benefits, as well as, again, hopefully increased benefits for the habitat for the fish and the animals that live in the river as well. One thing that we've really focused on, and again, because the city is such a key partner, so Mike and the city engineer are actually the project applicants with the state, is building equity into this project to make sure that everybody benefits from it. So the city has an Office of Equity and Engagement. I probably butchered that name. Did I get it right? So we have actually had for the last probably 4 or 5 years, we've actually had a member of that office participating in a lot of the project meetings about the river to make sure that everyone has opportunities to bid on the construction work, to help minority-owned businesses come through the city processes so that they can get registered to be able to bid. Really truly looking at this, not only for the work that goes in the river, but then also all that future economic development that'll happen along the shoreline with parks and the trails and other business opportunities, making sure that everybody has access. So we're building language right into the contracts for the construction, where this is really kind of becoming a key focus for the project, both in the river and then along the banks as we move forward as well. Youth programming and education, there's a ton of opportunity to get kids involved in this project. And I know growing up, I grew up in Midland on the banks of the Chippewa River, and I played in the river as a kid all the time in the summer. I had no idea you could make a really, really good living digging mussels out of a river and studying them and relocating them. So we have actually started some different programs. We work closely with the Grand Rapids Public Museum, ELGRO, the Lower Grand River Organization of Watersheds, trying to get students involved in the project, get them to learn about the river, get them to learn about that storm drain that's on their street outside of their house, and that if you dump something in there, that eventually finds its way into the river. We have had a summer camp for the last couple of years where we actually, for 2 weeks, we get kids involved in the river. The Grand River becomes a classroom. They get to hear from our engineers. They get to hear from the mayor. They get to hear from different city leaders, different fish biologists and scientists. They get to go out and actually shock fish and do fish samples in the river. And again, the goal here is just to learn about what's happening in their environment and then give them new ideas for opportunities that they can do in the field of like water and conservation. So a lot of opportunities here to get more kids involved and just get people out into our neighborhood, or get them from the neighborhoods into the river. It's amazing how many people have never actually been down to the river or touched the river, let alone get in it or on it. So we're really looking at 2 projects. One is that lower reach. So that's kind of the first phase that I mentioned we're working through the design plans for right now. That's roughly from just upstream of Bridge Street to Fulton Street. That'll be the first phase of the construction project, where we'll remove those 4 low head dams, bring in rock and boulder and recreate those rapids. And then the upper reach is kind of a separate phase where, again, we're working with a different set of agency partners that will look at the potential removal of the 6th Street Dam, and then replacing that with some sort of viable sea lamprey structure. So that will be down the road after we kind of get the lower reach permit started. So before I turn back to Mike, I'll just say that the project is not dead. We are definitely still working for it. We hope to see rapids back in the Grand River again soon, and we'll make sure that we let you all know, and you can all come and take your kayaks and canoes down there, even though it won't be as intense whitewater. It will still be a fun experience. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Mike, and he's going to talk about some of the other exciting projects that are going to take place along the edges of the river.
All right, thanks, Matt. So having a restored river is great, but we want people to get to it. We want people to use it. So I'm going to talk about a handful of projects that we are doing as city and our partners that are trying to get people to the river. So Matt talked about upper and lower reaches. And so this is the lower reach projects. And I'm going to go through these pretty fast. Please feel free to ask questions about them if something strikes you. So first thing is this Lion Square. So Lion Square is, if you just go out this building, walk down the hill to the end of Lion where it meets the river, this is going to be that's Lion Square. So it is under construction as we speak. So they're tearing out that old amphitheater. They're going to build up the flood wall. They're going to put a better, more connected trail in there. And then just make it a more inviting space in general. So it's going to be a really amazing project. Across the river from that is the Grand Rapids Public Museum. There was just some press on this project recently. So the public museum is redoing their riverfront. And so out there today is a bunch of just riprap and overgrown shrubs that were just never specifically planted or anything like that. And so this is really a great spot to get people down to the river. And so, and with all of that, the museum wants to do with all of their kids and science classes and camps and things like that, this is an awesome opportunity to have an outdoor classroom. So that's what we've kind of been building into here. So we've added new universal access down to the river. So for maybe those people that can't go out into the river, but yet want to fish, this will be a great spot for them to do that. And also, so there's universal access as well across the way, across the carousel, and then there will be an outdoor classroom and another access point on the south side of the museum. Just to kind of give you another angle of what this looks like. So you will be able to come into the museum and walk yourself all the way down to the river edge on that universal design access. And that's universal design is what our goal is for all of these projects, is to have no barriers for people to get down into the river. Moving across the way, I obviously can't talk about the riverfront without talking about the amphitheater. And really what the city's doing is just getting out of the way so that our partners at the CAA, the DDA, Grand Action 2.0 are coming in and they are going to build this beautiful 12,000 seat amphitheater. So this is currently where the city public services are. We are moving up to the county's old building, which is on Scribner on the other side of the river. That's happening in the next 2 years. So because of this is going to occur, we are re-envisioning what that riverfront looks like on the east side from Fulton Street down to Wealthy. And so, yeah, it's just another awesome opportunity with trails that come down next to the river, people to have some space for programming. There's also going to be a takeout point to get out of the river or into the river down there. So there's going to be lots of different connections in there. Today, what's out there is concrete wall, riprap, bricks. It's just kind of a trash site. Now we want to tear that out and almost lay it down so that people can feel invited to get down there. And so this will be a great opportunity to do that. You have a question for me now?
Yeah, right there. Right across the way is the Grand Valley.
Yep, absolutely.
Are they having any projects?
Are they having any projects?
Do anything about waterfront?
I know that they're redoing some of the railings, but that's as much as I know.
I didn't know if they had anything.
No, off the top of my head, I don't know. I know they redid a building last year, too, like a facade, but I don't know of any projects off the top of my head for Grand Valley, but they've been great partners to work with. So kind of now shifting upstream. So a lot of the projects that I just showed are like we're working on right now, right? Like we're full steam ahead. These are a little bit more on the back burner, but still moving ahead. So, so this is for reference, the 6th Street Dam is in here, kind of at the bottom of the page. And so we have multiple projects running up and down the mile length. So this project, the Leonard Street to Ann Street Trail, we're going to be submitting that for permits, actually, maybe even today, right? So that is what that's going to do. There's a 3/4 of a mile segment, a gap between where the White Pine Trail comes into Riverside Park and where all of our like river edge trails are within the city, right? So there's this gap there, and then there's this old railroad bed. And so we're going to take that old railroad bed, we're going to build it up so that we now have better flood protection, but also build a trail on top of it. And so obviously we have to work out a little bit of the access around each of the roads, but that's, we're gonna connect that trail in, so then hypothetically, you could go from Cadillac to Byron Center, all on trail. So that will be really cool. We are not currently doing the underpasses under the roads, although that is in our, master plan. Obviously, we want to eliminate those road crossings, and that will make it safer. Another project that we are also going to be submitting permits for very soon is Canal Park. If you've been out to that park now, there is some kind of access there down into the river. That currently is horrible, in my opinion. It's very unsafe because it feels like 2 feet of a drop, and it makes it really hard to get in and out of. So what we're doing is we're reshaping the park and laying it back. So instead of having some retaining walls, there's still going to be some concrete there, but the top of the wall is going to get laid back. And so now where you see this, like, I don't know, orangey red type trail, there will now be a trail at the top of the bank, and that trail will be the top of our flood protection system. And then we're also going to mix in a lot of like park type stuff, park amenities, right? Wood log jam playgrounds, right? Nature inspired playground. So that will be a really fun spot. The last one I want to talk about, and I love using this example, is because the before and after that we're envisioning here is really going to be what I think dramatic. So this is really what's kind of out there now, although a couple of parking lots have been resurfaced in the last few years. But this is just north of 196. You can see 196 kind of in the corner of the picture. And that's what we have planned for 6th Street Park. So what this is just obviously taking out all of that parking lot asphalt and things like that, taking the concrete wall, laying it way back, and providing green space and trails right down next to the river, access, sport courts and pavilions and just trees and just natural space that for people to be. That is a longer ways off. The dam will have to get removed before we do anything with that, but that is the main vision for what that, and that is one of the things that really excites me. So with that, I think we got a few minutes for questions. Scary ones.
When the dam is removed, how will that affect the level of the river up river?
Want me to take that? All right, so it's not going to affect it too terribly much. Okay, so right now, remember Matt showed you that picture of so just in case if you guys didn't hear the question was, is removing the dam going to affect the water levels? The answer is largely no. So with the way with how steep the river is, the dam has a very small pool behind it. In fact, it's not even a regulated dam by the state because it's so small. And if we were just to take out the dam, that water would speed up and rip through the city, so much so that fish wouldn't be able to get up the river too much. Also, we'd be concerned about scour around all of our bridges and flood walls and all this investment we've made in over hundreds of years. So we have to put something back to have stable grade control. And so it's just going to be, instead of a dam, it might be something that's more sloped, but still going to maintain some of that height back there. So our promise has been, we're not going to adversely affect flooding upstream. Yes.
At this point, is the hold up the project primarily the permitting process, or where are you at on funding?
Yeah, great question. So really, I mean, there's two complexities, right? You got the permit and then the funding. So just to give you an estimate, the in-river work, this was 3-4 years ago, we estimated about $45 million. We had all the funding secured and committed that we needed for the project done. So really right now, the key focus is getting through the permitting processes. So again, there's federal, state, and local permits that we have to go through. When we still have enough funding commitments for the lower reach project, but again, just because of how much time has gone on, any structure that has to be built for a lamprey barrier, those, those costs have likely gone up as everything has gone up. So, so right now, we're still okay with the funding, and it's really just the permitting. Yeah.
I would just say, when all this is said and done, the goal is obviously to bring beauty and beauty. I've grown up in Grand Rapids, it is well known that river is already going to change public perception.
We're gonna let Mike answer.
So
It's a great question.
this is a fantastic question. And it's a question that we have been getting a lot. So, first of all, the city separated our sanitary and storm sewers. So we no longer have combined sewer overflow points. So any of the poop that used to go in the river is no longer in there, right? The second part of that is, yes, there are times when E. coli, which is the main bacteria that poop puts in the river, right, it still can be elevated at times. But the city has got a grant through the Urban Waters Federal Partnership and has partnered with USGS, United States Geological Survey, and we have water quality monitors in the river. And so part of what's this project is, which is really cool, is so right now, we're advancing science. So right now, E. coli test takes 18 to 24 hours to get you a reliable number coming back. And it's like, well, in 18 to 24 hours in a Grand River, the water's going to be long gone, right? So we need something more reliable like that to tell us if that water quality is okay. And we know that largely those spikes only occur after large rainfall events, and then it goes right back down, and it's at a very good level. So we're advancing science with USGS right now. We're testing the water quality, taking lab samples, and we're creating a state-of-the-art model that will be able to tell us, or at least that's the goal, right? Is to be able to tell us when that E. coli is rising to the level that we're not comfortable having people in the river. So it is absolutely something that we're very focused on and putting resources towards. So it's been, and we have all the data on our website as well. If you ever go to grcity.us river quality, and it's all posted publicly. So if you don't believe me, you can believe USGS.
Thank you very much. Yes, so when it rains hard, we shouldn't flush the toilet.
No, I think Mayor Hartwell said a shower with Buddy, right?
Okay, but thank you. We look, with us being here 104 years, the Grand Rapids Lions Club, we look forward to celebrating the opening of this with you. And hopefully we don't have a flood then, so you can remember us. A little gift from us. Hey, thank you. Okay, but thank you very much. This is exciting, and I do have my kayak ready. So maybe we can do a Lions event down the river. So right now we're going to use that. Our next meeting is November 7th, so Election Day. We'll see you first Monday in first Tuesday in November. Yeah, Monday. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you. That was great.